Good morning. In this video, we are going to see part 1 of module 2, Transportation Planning. It is based on KTU syllabus prepared by Dilruba. So, let's see the syllabus. In syllabus, we have different modes of transport and its characteristics. And we have to see the integration of modes and their interactions, impact on environment, relationship between movement and accessibility, hierarchy of transportation facilities, brief study of urban travel pattern and urban transportation technologies, comprehensive mobility plan. So, different modes of transport. We know transport refers to the activity that facilitate physical movement of goods as well as individuals from one place to another. In business, transport support trade and industry in carrying raw materials to the place of production and distribution. We have different modes of transportation through rail, road, water, and airways. So let's see the characteristics of these modes. First, we will see the road transport mode. In road, this transportation mode have high velocity of delivery. When we consider the movement of goods or delivering of the essential needed, this particular mode gives us the maximum or highest mobility, or we can say this will give a door-to-door service, and this is very easy to access for individual entity, but there are few disadvantages like low carrying capacity comparing to other modes, and it required high energy and a lot of areas. Noise and toxic emissions are also an side effect of this road transport mode, and obviously possible traffic delays which affect our day-to-day life is through road transport. In rail, we have higher capacity comparing to road, and it is fast delivery and low energy use. When we compare this rail mode to the road mode, we can see it use very less energy, but there are few disadvantages like restricted timetables and routes, a low density of tracks used, and expensive for short distance. If we consider a movement of a particular item in a short distance, we can see it's comparatively expensive than the road mode. If we are using road mode, we can deliver that particular item less expensively just for short distance. But for long distance, railway is much more economical. And in inland waterways, it has high carrying capacity and it's economical and ecologically sustainable. Since we don't have to prepare a particular new route for it, in inland waterways we get the support from natural routes which are already existing in our land. But there are some disadvantages because this is only limited to geographical. We cannot provide inland waterways on the entire country. It can only be provided where places we have more waterways or water facilities are there like rivers. So inland waterways, the major disadvantages is it's limited to geographical reach, and it is comparatively low speed, and it is highly depending upon environmental and weather conditions. If the weather is bad, we cannot rely on inland waterways, and risk of accidents with dangerous environmental effect is also another disadvantage of inland waterways. Now in waterways, there are another transport mode that is through sea, which is very high carrying capacity, which is also economical for bulky and heavy goods, and there is no need of preparation of routes because the routes are already existing. The disadvantage of this particular mode is it takes longer delivery times and depends upon weather conditions. And risk of accidents with dangerous environmental effect is also another disadvantage of this transportation mode, and it is suitable only for coastal region. And in pipeline, we can transport large volume of materials, and it is very safe, unaffected by weather. There is no requirement of drivers, but a few limitations are it is only limited to particular types of cargo. We cannot transport people through pipelines, and it is easy to vandalism and terrorist attack. And last one is air. Air, which is very high speed, no physical barrier is existing in air transportation mode, and existence of natural road, obviously, because we don't have to build a route for airways, it is already existing there. But comparing to all other modes, this one is the costliest one, and depending upon the weather condition like inland and sea waterways, and it have low carrying capacity comparing to waterways and railways, and heavy losses in case of accident. If accidents occur, we may lose a lot of economy due to this accidents. So these are the characteristics of each transport modes. And now coming to the next section about transport integration. So understanding the essence of transport integration is the first step to build a successful transport system. So what is transport integration? Transport integration refers to the process of making journey that use a range of transport modes more conveniently and efficiently. That is, it involves a combining of different modes of transport to maximize ease and efficiency for the use in terms of time, cost, comfort, safety, accessibility, and convenience. So, we are using more than one mode in order to make a journey. Then we can say it's the integration of transportation modes. And this integration of transportation mode can facilitate intermodality. It means completion of a single trip using two or more different modes of transport, and multimodality, that is use of different modes for different trips. So transportation integration is basically it's about ease of moving around. In a user's perspective, we can perspective we can say transportation integration can be answered by asking the question, will I be able to travel where I want to go? So can we move when we need, and how much time will the trip take, how comfortable and safe will the trip be, and how convenient will the trip be, and what will the trip cost, and what information is available to help me choose my means of travel. So by answering all these questions, we can see the integration of transportation. If the transport system is so efficient, the integration of transportation will also be so efficient, so that all the answers will be a positive for us. So nearly every daily trip has more than one mode of travel. At least we used to walk at the beginning and end of each trip, and then some combination of walking, cycling, traveling by bus, train, ferry, or car. These kind of transportation is known as integration of transportation modes. So we are using more than one mode in order to make a journey or going for a journey. If all the modes are provided in such a way that we don't have to wait for some another mode to continue a journey, or if the travel time is very less, or waiting time is very less, the journey can occur with fluently, then we can say integration of transportation is done nicely. So for a trip to be considered integrated means relatively seamless journeys with different segments readily connecting in close proximity. That is in terms of time and space to ensure a reasonable travel time from door to door. If we are providing a seamless journey considering the space and time, then we can say it's a very well integrated transportation facility. And a well-designed integration result in economically feasible transport of reliable quality, and this cost of the trip is considered reasonable, affordable, and value for money, or at least acceptable by the user. And the quality of the trip is safe and comfortable. So when we provide transport modes well integrated, people will try to make use of our public transportation itself, which is good for our environment and also economical point of view. It is good for people. So for a good transport system, we must provide a good integrated transport modes. So the functions of transport interchanges or integration, we should provide access to impaired people, and there should be access to the journey informations like railways. We can track train where it is right now, when it will reach at our station, and also if we can take the tickets through online, and there is facilities for toilets and waiting areas, and if it's convenient around the clock, and if the transportation facilities like infrastructures are also provided near to the retail and commercial areas or town center, if it's near to the town center, it is like integration of town center also. So when we use of a transportation mode, if we want to go to purchase something from town, it will be very useful for us. And if all those facilities are provided for wayfinding, and multi-purpose facilities are also there, so these are the functions of transport interchanges. In order to these are the keys or entities that there should be there in order to make our transport integration more user friendly. So how can transport integration be achieved? There are three prerequisites to the achievement of successful integrated transport network. They are integrated planning, integrated infrastructure, and integrated operations. The integrated planning. A major challenge is getting all the agencies responsible for planning transport network like state, local, and private to coordinate with efforts and ensure transport policy, network, and services are developed as an integrated system. And coordinating planning for the various modes will ensure they are readily connected at interchanges, both in terms of space and time, resulting in trips with minimum disruption, minimum discomfort, and give maximum safety. So next one is integrated infrastructure. This requires the various transport mode to seamlessly connected to enable the most convenient high quality travel experience. For example, interchanges need to ensure seamless connections between park and ride facilities. Stations ensure connection between cycleways and public transport stations, and connect transport station with retail and commercial areas. And operations of services at interchanges is particularly important as waiting time is perceived to be 2.5 times greater than actual time. Integrated operation. In conjunction with infrastructure, public transport service need to be coordinated to ensure seamless connections between services like bus to bus, bus to train, bus to ferry from origin to destination. In high patronage areas, turn up and go frequencies of 5 to 10-minute intervals are preferred. And the different modes need to complement each other rather than operate independently or in competition with another. We should complement each other. For public transport services, integrated ticketing and fares are critical to enable seamless transfer from one service or mode to another without financial penalty. So these are the integrated operations. So in order to achieve an integrated transport system, we should have an integrated planning, then integrated infrastructure and integrated operations of all these facilities. Now moving to the next section, that is impact of transport on environment. So these are the main areas where transportation has impact on environment. They are climate, health, acidification, noise, land use and ozone damage. Let's see each one by one. So first one is impact on climate. The danger of climate change is a global environmental problem. A change in the climate influences the living condition for mankind on Earth. So up until the last century with industrialization, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere have increased as a result of human activities. Transport makes a considerable contribution to the greenhouse effect. And emissions from transport sector enhances the natural greenhouse effects and in long-term change the entire climate system. Emissions of greenhouse gases are extremely relevant issues when it comes to our choice of transport mode. So, according to the various studies, these are the emissions from different transport mode in terms of emissions per passenger per kilometer traveled. So, when we look at the graph, we can see domestic flight have the maximum emission of carbon dioxide and non-carbon dioxide emissions. Like it is around 254 gram per kilometer. It is emitting 254 gram per person per kilometer. And considering the long haul flight, it's 195 gram. And if we are using a car which is for using a single car for single person, then that car is emitting 171 gram per kilometer. Whereas if the same car, if you are accommodating 4 passengers, for each person it is emitting only 43 gram. That is 171 divided by 4, which come around 42.75, that is 43 gram. And if you are depending upon the bus, then a bus is emitting 104 gram for each person. And for domestic rail, it is only 41 gram. And for coaches, it's only 27 gram. And Eurostars, it's only 6 gram. So, these are the emissions from different modes of transport. If we look at the greenhouse gases emissions, we can see the cars are emitting almost 40% of greenhouse gases. And trucks are emitting 34%. And flights or planes are emitting 11% of greenhouse gases on entire Earth, boats 11% and trains only 4%. And impact on health. So air pollutants are very significant in some urban areas primarily as health risk. Air pollutants can be generally toxic and contribute to allergies and other hypersensitivity. They can also cause cancer or other genetic toxic effects. Road traffic is thought to cause at least half of the particle emissions in our urban areas. Up to 90% of those occur at street levels. So, urban transport is a major issue in the health of people living in urban area. And next one is noise. So many studies illustrate a link between exposure to noise and negative effect on people. The maximum sound level or sudden change in the surrounding acoustic environment can activate several psychological systems in human, which lead to changes such as increased heartbeat, a rise in blood pressure, and other reactions. Noise masks other acoustic signals such as speech and cause a degeneration in the understanding of speech for listener, especially for people suffering from hearing impairment. Other harmful effects of noise exposure include reduction in the sleep quality, sleep disturbance, and problems with waking up as well as problems in falling asleep. Next one is acidification. So, acidification of land and water is considerable in many countries, partly due to land and bedrock being very sensitive to acidification in extensive areas. The burning of fossil fuel is a major reason for generating great amount of acidifying agents, and it's mainly caused by emission of nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide that cause the fallout of acidifying agents, which way this presence of these nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide create acid rains which ultimately cause the acidification of soil and water. And a considerable amount of emissions, mainly of nitrogen oxide, can trace to if we look at the if we trace the nitrogen oxide, we can see it's coming from transportation um, vehicles. So acidification leads to tangible changes in condition of life of plants, microflora and fauna. And acidification causes decrease in soil nutrients, and it also affects groundwater quality. Acidified air pollutant also accelerate the degradation of many materials. Significant impact from acidified air pollutants has been confirmed with regard to many of valuable buildings, especially cultural monuments such as old sandstone and limestone buildings. We have an example in India, that is Taj Mahal. It is in danger of discoloration due to the acid rains, which was caused due to industrialization of the nearby areas. Impact on land use. So, how the transport mode impact on land use? We know the stability of ecosystem and the variation of all living things is known as biological diversity and is extremely important for sustainable life. Biological diversity is not as never been static. It always been changing. Species and economic system undergo continual slow development. New species are formed according to Darwin's theory, and other becomes extinct. Plants may be completely dependent on the biotape, having a hydrological link to a water conveying feature of the landscape. So the land and water taken over by the transport sector. When land and water taken over by the transport sector, along with the natural areas and natural resources, has both direct and indirect impact. We can see many roads or railway itself with the traffic operation maintenance constitute a continuous environmental impact on landscapes. The force of this environmental impact depends on the design of infrastructure facility, the type of traffic where facility is located in the landscape. The area of arable land or forest is not only reduced by the road or railway itself, but also by the disturbance zones that are created on either sides. The last one is ozone damage. We know ozone layer, which is protecting us, which is protect life on earth from sun's ultraviolet rays, but human activities have contributed to accelerate the depletion of ozone layer. Emission of nitrogen oxide and volatile organic substance, primarily certain types of hydrocarbons, interact under influence of sunlight to create ozone and other oxidants in the air. Since it is created, high level of ground level ozone increases and which damage the plant and material as well as impact on human health. Transport is the greatest source of both nitrogen oxide and volatile organic substance, which is the major reason behind our ozone depletion as well as ozone creation in the air. So, photochemical oxidants irritate the respiratory tracts and the mucous membrane of the eyes. It is suspected that ozone and other oxidants can play a part in development of cancer. So, ozone absorbs the radiation of heat and therefore contribute to the greenhouse effect as well. So, these are the major reason, major impact of transport on environment. So, when we look, it affects the climate, it affects our health, it causes acidification, and it creates noise and land use changes, and finally ozone damage. So that's all about this video. We will see next part 2 in next video. Thank you.